I'm so happy to be here today and to talk about what I'm going to talk about, because I really believe that this is one of the most important events of this year, because I believe there's so much exciting things happening in the future. And I truly believe that data science and AI talent is the key to solving a lot of the challenges and inventing new things in the future. My name is Kye Andersson. I come from our National AI Center, AI Sweden. Our mission statement from the government is to accelerate the use of AI and with the help of data science and big data to create a better future for our society, our competitiveness, and above all, for everyone living in Sweden and born in the future. As you know, AI is on the main topic of everyone these days, but it's not just a trend. I mean, the most important organizations in the world, the biggest players, are comparing it to the invention of fire or electricity, as Google CEO has said, and also investing billions and billions of dollars into this field because they believe this is the key to solving new things and creating new innovations. If you listen to Kevin Kelly, the founder of Wired magazine, he says it's a no-brainer that AI will be at the core of every startup in the future. You take AI, add X. This is going to be the center of every business model, every innovation going forward. And what do you need for that? You need data scientists and people who understand and can work with AI throughout the entire value chain. To me, AI is all about making it cheaper and more accessible to access cognitive ability. If you look back to the invention of the transistor, it became cheaper and easier for everyone to access and use math, to do mathematical calculations. And during our lifetime, we've seen internet really democratize the distribution of information. Anyone can now be an influencer or spread truth around the world. And we have seen millions of new business models and innovations occur over the last 2 decades. And with AI, we will see the same things with brain power, where we have trained experts like doctors and lawyers for 10 years to do a very complex task. We will see similar tasks or those professions become democratized. They will not be as expensive anymore, so more people will be able to afford them and use these services. To me, AI and neural networks and these new technologies are all about being able to find patterns in big amounts of data to solve problems that we cannot do because we don't have enough time or brain power. There's just simply, in most of the challenges nowadays, there's not enough time or resources to sift through all the data points we need to understand to solve problems, because the universe is simply too complex. I think a great example of that is self-driving cars. Anyone who's coded understands rule-based algorithms or rule-based code systems where we actually create rules for what should happen if an event occurs. But it's just too complex to create a rule-based system to handle a self-driving car. And that's where AI and data science comes in, where we can train models to handle situations based on vast amount of data by showing it images and moving images, infrared data points, and a myriad of other data points, even including this driver, him or herself. And just when the Industrial Revolution came around, this is going to affect all of society. A few of the opportunities for AI I am particularly excited about from different parts of the field that are already in production right now are, first of all, right here in Stockholm, a company called Sybase. They're developing a medtech device, which to me is very similar to the Star Trek healing device. You just simply put it against your skin and it will tell you the likelihood for if you have skin cancer, and now lately, if you have atopic dermatitis, which is the underlying foundation for asthma, eczema, and allergies, which affect 15 to 30% of every child born today. And this is just with AI and data science models being able to interpret electrical signals and find patterns in that. And I mean, something everyone uses pretty much every day is Spotify's Discover Weekly. It's just a better recommendation engine where AI looks through different data patterns and can find a better recommendation, and also makes you go outside your preferred genres, which is a limitation that we humans have come up with. And all of a sudden we find new music that we had never seen before or listened to before. I think this is a great example of what AI can do, where us humans have a limitation, where we need kind of the reality we're used to when we create genres that have been around for 100 years. And climate, of course, is on the topic of everyone these days. Using satellite imagery and infrared spectrums, we can now detect emissions, greenhouse gas emissions, so we can create tools for buyers in other countries to actually make decisions, to make smarter climate decisions, and also create incentives for instance, rice farmers in other countries, so they get money to grow rice smarter, so the greenhouse emissions decrease. And finally, my last example is about children. I mean, I think the next generation is what we all should be thinking about when we do make our choices in life. How can we create a better world for our children? Our schooling system is based on a model that we invented 100 years ago or more, when there was simply not enough resources or teachers to help every individual child on what they needed that single moment. But with the help of AI, we can give teachers more understanding of what different children need at any given moment. What are they good at? What do they enjoy? What should they spend more time on so they can learn more based on their individual abilities? And I think that's one key where data science and AI merge, finding that individual insight so we can help create solutions that are more adapted to any single moment or any single challenge. And of course, over the last few years, natural language processing has progressed so much with BERT and now lately the new models. So we can actually understand texts in their entirety. We can find similar texts, we can understand sentiment and tonality and the context, and that just gives us so much opportunities, because everyone uses text. We write more and more every day. We communicate with email and texts and Slack and what name you. And I mean, that means that we can go away from keyword understanding to understanding the differences between sentences. In this case, Paris Hilton stays with Orlando Bloom and Orlando stays at the Hilton in Paris. We used to not be able to tell the difference between these two sentences when we used old methods, but now we can. And that gives us the opportunity to actually maybe do real-time literature studies, look through the entire research of the world in real time and find the most relevant information for any topic we're exploring without having to do a study for several years and just have a long lead time. You can imagine a patient-doctor conversation being listened to and interpreted by several AI models and systems, finding the most relevant research at that single moment and helping the doctor or the nurse to give a better diagnosis. And also, of course, automated procurements and quote handling, looking through hundreds of thousands of historical product documentation and historical quotes to find what's most relevant for this situation. What solution or project should we use in this particular case? Because we've done it before, and just eliminate those automated tasks that we spend so much time on, so we can spend more time on being humans. Excuse me. I think this is maybe one of my most important insights over the last few years when I've worked with AI, and that is AI is not primarily a technical challenge. As in many other areas, it's not a technical challenge. It is the human factor that is the biggest obstacle. And I'm going to explain to you why I think that's important in this setting where we're talking about data science and AI and machine learning jobs where we easily focus on the technical things, but we need to also keep this in mind. Change will never be this slow again. It's happening faster and faster, and it's always going to be like that. It's going to go faster and faster, and we are going through different phases in evolution or in technical evolution. It's when we invent the technology, like in steam power, it took about 100 years to invent it. We were in an innovation proof of concept phase. And then when it becomes readily available, it's just taking off and going faster. The same trend we saw in electricity. And now we can say AI and data science is starting to become readily available. So it's really, really moving fast right now. And we're seeing more and more data being available every day, but also we see more and more companies struggling with it. And that ties back to that human obstacle. When we looked back through the last 20 years or the last 25, 30 years when internet came and kind of shook up the entire world, we saw gut reactions of this is just like a trend. We don't have to really care about this. Let IT handle this. But there were many companies who actually embraced AI and mobile and centered their business models around this, and they were able to just deliver their products and services faster to market, to more people, anywhere around the world, 24 hours a day when people need it, and most of all, personalized and customer-centric. My belief is that AI will be able to make companies deliver their products and services constantly changing to adapt faster and faster to the times, but also everywhere in more devices using speech, and hopefully when Google Glass and similar devices come back through other means, but also maybe before we know it. I mean, you can talk about Amazon already running pilots in the US, delivering products home to people before they even buy it, because they know so much about their customers. So they understand and know when they need more detergent or something else. And also maybe when you look at health, when people are sick, why am I waiting until my body starts to break down? I don't do that with my car. I go in for service when my car tells me it's something wrong, but with my body, I have to wait until it really, really breaks down when a symptom occurs, and then I go in for service. So hopefully we can start to use AI and data science to tackle that. And hopefully in a decade or less, healthcare will call me or let me know on my smartphone or smartwatch that I should come in for service because something's deviating. And so for me, it's really about what we really need, and in both business and as humans to do things better. I started off with Google and others investing a lot in this, which also poses challenges for the free market and democracy. When some countries invest a lot and other countries are discussing the theory of things and maybe discussing only legal frameworks, so there's too much talk about ethics, which is an important topic, but not the only topic. What happens when some players move away from others? If you look at the Nasdaq stock, you can see there are a few players that make up half of the entire stock value on the market, because they have AI at the core of their business. So they're able to just move so much faster and run circles around their competitors. And that the same thing goes for nations. We can just use resources so much more efficient and increase our economy if we really use AI and data science throughout society. And that ties back to climate and sustainability. Every resource we use badly is a car trip unnecessary, or emissions unnecessary, or energy unnecessary used. So why is it hard for humans? Going back to the headline, the human factor is the biggest obstacle. Change is always scary. It's in our DNA to look for an identity in our herd or in our group. And when change comes, fear occurs naturally within us. the fear of losing our identity in that herd. And it's most scary for leaders because they have the most to lose. So many leaders cling to quotes like, we've always done it this way. That's not going to work. Or they say, okay, let's start an R&D lab over there that can look at this. We don't need to change the real way we're doing things, the thing that I can relate to. And I think that's important to be aware and constantly come back to, that this is kind of an uncomfortable environment to be in and work with change and innovation and to talk about it. And actually be truthful that this is scary. And even though we've done it this way, there's probably value in that. You don't have to be super pragmatic and say we have to change everything, but we can build on the things that we have done before and incrementally change them and look at them in new ways. Elon Musk, quote from him, always think about how you can improve and question yourself. Everyone cannot be Elon Musk, but you can, on a regular basis, look at how you can do things better. And I think data is a really powerful tool, because if I talk to you and say, you need to change this, then you will automatically perceive it probably as critique coming from me as a person to you as an individual. But data has a fantastic quality of being objective. So we can look at the data together, and the data tells us the truth, and then all of a sudden it's not scary anymore, and we can just have a dialogue around it. And I think that's one of the big powers of data, and I think that truth should be embraced, and that's where data scientists and AI engineers and AI experts, I think that's what's alluring and very, very exciting about this field. Repetition, but this is a message from Oscar Höglund, the CEO of Epidemic Sound. We need to put AI at the core of our business. We need to be able to measure the value. We cannot only put it in a corner as a marketing stunt to be able to say that we are working with AI or data science. We need to actually own it. And I think that ownership needs to be at CEO level. And we need to give the AI experts and data scientists the tools and the foundation they need to be able to excel. Because I think research is fantastic, and we need free research without having to deliver all the time and be able to do mistakes and fail. But we also need to measure things along the way. And failures are also wins, because that's lessons learned and doors closed, or at least temporarily closed. We should always go back and see if we can find new solutions. I think this quote is very, very powerful. This is from the CEO, the late CEO, Kaiser Permanente, one of the largest healthcare providers in the US with, I think, 9 million patients. He has stated that no physician should practice medicine without the support of AI. There's simply too many parameters to track patterns, to really monitor care. And I think this quote actually goes for most organizations. Most organizations, when they become over a certain size, are too complex for any single individual or a group of individuals to always monitor. And that's where AI and data science can really help to find insights so we can act on them. AI together with humans. And I think when organizations really embrace AI and put it at the core, that's when they can become places where people can come to their full potential and are not disregarded or demoted to just do repetitive tasks or automated tasks, so they can do the human part of things. So I think that should be when you as a recruiter look to find AI teams and data science teams, look at that angle. How can we empower the rest of the organizations with the help of these experts who understand how to massage and look through data and find new patterns and deploy them? One super important message. I think the CEO is ultimately responsible for understanding the AI potential, or the director of it, if it's a public organization. What can AI and data science do for the organization moving forward? What's the potential value we can create. This needs to be understood at the leadership level. I think that's a good thing to look for when you look for a job. And that's one thing you need to bring with you if you are recruiting expertise inside your organization. You need to be able to anchor this at the highest level of the organization, so that your new team of data scientists or experts can really come to their full fruition. And I mean, if you look at area number 5, the middle box at the lower end, that's AI expertise or data scientists. That's a core component of being able to really embrace big data and AI in the future. But all these other boxes needs to be checked to really give them the means and the tools to really excel and deliver value. Everyone needs to understand how AI functions at a basic level, so you don't end up in unfruitful discussions or polarization. And the leadership I mentioned, they need to really prioritize this. Data-driven decision-making is super important. Be starting to build mastery of data and infrastructure where you can use data on a regular basis and add more and more data, so you don't have your data scientist team and AI experts spending 95% of their time looking for data or structuring data. You need to start to create that efficiency. And finally, obviously, you need to give them the tools or the funds for the tools so they can work. I'm going to round off soon, but I think this is worth to pause on. 2 messages for those who are recruiting and for those who are looking for and thinking about what job should I choose in the future. If you're recruiting and believe that AI is core to your value offering, you must make sure that your AI team is at the very center of business critical challenges. And if you're looking for a job, you must make sure that that sentiment or that thinking is at the core of the organization that you choose to work for. Thank you very much. I think that's all I have to say for now. And I hope you have a really, really fantastic day. Make the most of it. And apart from looking for potential jobs and career opportunities and inspiration, also make sure to get to know as many people as possible. Start making connections outside and building your networks, because you can always learn from other people and discuss in all the different side tracks that are available. Thank you so much.